Yep. Broadcasting now.
Hey guys, Jason Johnson with Sendwire Black. How are you guys doing today? Should be able to comment in the chat box up top. I just want to take a quick second and welcome Mr. Bradley Benner to the Sendwire Black, and thank you guys for coming in and being part of this today. We really don't have a layout, a formula to this thing today. We're gonna just do this and see how well it works out for us. We're gonna do another. We're gonna follow up. We're gonna try to add to this a little bit. They're not going to be scheduled events. We're just going to do it as we see fit, and we'll just kind of see what it turns into. So at this time, I'm going to just turn it over to Bradley, and let's go.
All right. Hey, Jason. Thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk with your group, and to just join the group too. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty active group, which is nice. I enjoy that. You know, a lot of feedback, a lot of participation in that. You guys are hungry to learn, and that's a good thing. So. I know that you had asked me if to come on and talk about a lot of people. There's some people that have already kind of crossed over between the Syndwire Black group and also part of the Semantic Mastery, the IFTTT SEO Academy, and there's a lot of questions all the time about, and even for those of you that have no idea who the hell I am, we get questions asked all the time about how do we use Sendwire with this method, and so. Today, like Jason said, I'd just like to kind of do like an impromptu. This isn't really all that formal. Just talking back and forth with Jason here about how I use the two tools together and what I think are best practices. You guys can make your own decision. And then, like Jason said, we're probably going to do a more formal training with some slides and stuff like that as a follow-up. Maybe next week or the following week, something like that, within the next couple weeks. But this is more just an informal kind of like introduction deal. So thanks for having me, Jason, and I'll let you lead with any questions.
Well, okay, so Sendwire, IFTTT is an automated service that we've all, we're all somewhat familiar with, and I really and truly. What are some of your favorite, just to kind of kick this thing off, start the discussion just a little bit, what are some of your favorite first steps, if you will? Just how do we just get started? Do you have a particular set of recipes? Let's say, because the way I picture IFTTT is almost you want to create tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, sort of like a PBN. Mm-hmm. And so, what would you do to start that first tier, if you will?
Well, I always suggest starting with a branded account. Any web property I put online, whether it's a website, it could be. I mean, if it's going to be a money site, which essentially just means it's going to generate money for me, I built an IFTTT branded network around it. So. I've got branded networks around everything, but I think that's important. Is that's the first tier, and I think that what I like to call that like the extension of the brand, right? So whatever it is that I decide that I'm going to do, whether it's a YouTube channel, which I do a ton of YouTube stuff now, probably more so than website stuff. It's just more fun. It's easier, in my opinion. But I always put a branded IFTTT account around it first. That's always just step one. So it's just something that gets done. It's just part of the process, if you understand me.
Yeah.
So from there, the next thing that I do is I call it priming the network. And we actually talked about this in my group a little bit because some of the students had said that they had posted a video or whatever to their network, and some of the triggers, the IFTTT recipes didn't fire properly and stuff like that. But what I'll do is I'll do a test video, or if it's for a blog or a website, then I'll publish a couple posts out or something to kind of prime the network. And I like to build. I always start off with a two-tier network to test anything. And let me just for a second, for those of you that aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, I'm gonna take the screen just for a moment, Jason, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
This is what I call, and this is with my Sendwire notes on it, but this is what I call a two-tier network, or a tiered network. You can actually take it out to tier 3, but what you're looking at here is a two-tier network. This center point here being either your money YouTube channel or your money website, right? And so these circles around outside represent the IFTTT properties, and this is only showing the IFTTT properties specifically IFTTT properties. There's also what's called live stream sites like Rebel Mouse and FriendFeed and Flavors.me and several other sites. So it comes out to be an additional 7 sites. So on average, my networks for a single ring runs about 22 properties. And I do the branded property first, and then what I'll do is I'll set up. And again, I don't typically do this anymore. I have VAs that do this, but what I'll have them do is set up the 3 tier 2 networks as well. So it comes out to be a total of 4 rings for a 2-tier structure. And essentially you can go out a 3rd tier if you'd like. I don't typically do that. I don't find it necessary. What I like to do is just stack additional 2-tier networks on the same property if I'm going to, if I need more juice. Okay? But that, in order to answer your question, what do I typically do? Well, I typically have this set up first, and then I have this set up. I usually just hand it over to my team of VAs and say, hey, look, I need a 2-tier network. I give them the details. Very simple. I just give them, a few details for them to get it set up, and then I'll prime it with a video. I'll choose 2 or 3 keywords, and I'll just push videos out across, and then I'll kind of measure my results to see how, how effective that is. And if it needs, and then I can determine, okay, how much more am I going to need? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me see if you guys want. Let me stop sharing the screen for a minute, and I'll take a screenshot of this real quick, and I'll share this. I'll post the link in the chat or on the events page, and you guys can just take a look at this.
And while he's doing that, guys, just be aware. Like I said, this is pretty well unscripted. It's live. It's raw. If you want to ask any questions, just post them here in the chat box. We're just kind of talking off the top of our heads today.
Yeah. By the way, there's I don't know if you guys can see the chat box because you're probably just looking at the video. So just post your questions on the events page itself, and Jason and I can jump back over to the page and check it and make sure that we are seeing the questions.
Yeah.
Let me stick this on there right now, as a matter of fact. All right, I just posted the link, guys. It'll show up in just a moment. Looks like there's no questions coming in, anyways. So yeah, I mean, I'll take the screen again. Sorry, and I'll show the structure again. In fact, let me just take the whole screen. It'll probably be easier to switch back and forth. Okay. So like I said, a lot of people ask me, so where do I use Sendwire? Well, if I'm ranking videos, then I start off with the IFTTT networks. That's where I begin. And like I said, I always test a new market, something that I don't have any experience in. I test with one full 2-tier network. And so typically that means I'm going to have a brand new channel set up. That channel doesn't have any authority. We haven't built any authority. There's some inherent authority by linking the properties together the way that we do, which we're going to talk about that here for Syndwire too in just a moment. Okay, because I think that's one of the pieces that are missing in a lot of these tools is the proper interlinking of the accounts to make a strong profile or a strong persona. Because guys, I mean, we're in the semantic web as of Hummingbird update, right? Last year and or 2 years ago now, I guess, a year and a half ago. We're in the semantic web, so identity is the currency of the web right now. Like it's important to have a strong profile and a persona, and so there's a lot of tools out there, spam tools included, and guys, I use the hell out of spam tools, so I'm not saying anything bad about using spam tools, but Sendwire is essentially a spam tool in my opinion, okay? Because you're creating accounts and you're posting content to them for the pure reason of building backlinks. And that's not a negative word in my opinion, a spam tool. I think a lot of people think it is, and I don't, because I love spam tools, But yeah. What I'm trying to get at is that whether it's Syndwire or FCS Networker, or it could be GSA. It could be IFTTT Commando, Backlink Commando, which was released by Anthony Hayes, and all of those. I think they have their place, but the problem that I see with those is that you go out and you create these accounts that aren't connected to anything else. Like it's a John Doe 12345 username, and so the URL of the blogger account will be John Doe 12345, dot whatever, and it's not connected to anything else. And so I call that an orphaned account because there's no semantic relationship, there's no connection with anything else on the web other than it's just this orphaned account out there that all of a sudden now got a link pointing at your property. So is that link really worth anything? Yeah, it has a little bit of juice. but not very much. Whereas if you take the same John Doe and you build him a persona, a profile, like a full-on profile that's fleshed out, that's got a Google Plus account, and it's got Gravatar and WordPress and all of the accounts, and they're all tied together, they're all interlinked, Twitter, all of these other accounts, and you tie them all together, and they all have a consistent theme, the same profile image, the same bio, which you can vary the bio, the bio a little bit on each account if you want. I typically don't care. I'll use the same bio across every account. It doesn't matter. Every account within that particular network, I mean. And you tie all those together. Now you've got some currency. Like you've got the links from those accounts are much more valuable. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think that answers Paul's question here. I think that's what you're getting at, Paul, is he asked, when you're setting up the branded networks, are you doing these in your own name or creating new sites and new social accounts and things like that?
Well, for branded networks, let's not get the terminology confused here. When a branded network is the network that ties around a particular brand, like a company, for example, or a website. A website can be a brand, right? So, for example, even a PBNs, private blog network sites. I've got a great big PBN network too. I mean, I think everybody that's serious about SEO has a PBN network, or whether it's big or small, they've got a PBN network. Well, each one of my private blog network sites have an IFTTT ring around them, and the blog site itself, okay, has a brand, because otherwise it's very easily recognizable as a PBN. Like if it's just some crappy blog out there with a bunch of general articles about different topics, and they're all, it's very easy to spot, and you'll those kind of sites are easy targets to get de-indexed. So instead, what I do is I make the blog a brand, and it could be John Doe's blog. If that's what it is, that's what it is. I'm just saying, like, I make sure that the blog itself has a brand. Another branded network would be for like a company. So if you're doing this for a local business, and let's say it's Joe's Plumbing, okay, well then you would create all of the accounts in that branded network, which is your tier 1 network, your primary tier 1 network, right? That's going to be branded. So all of you would have a joesplumbing.blogspot.com, joesplumbing.tumblr.com, all of that. You tie that in. So that's a branded network. Whether it's for a website or it's for a local business, it's a branded network. All right. So you want a consistent theme. You want all of the accounts to be themed after that brand. And if you're using a branded network, I typically will have graphics made that I will use the same set of graphics across all of the properties where available, where you're allowed to do that, so that they all have a very consistent theme. But then when you get out to the secondary or the second tiers, okay, those are persona-based networks. And what I mean by that is, like, then it would be, like I said, a John Doe, or let's say Jane Smith, right? Jane Smith would be all of the properties in this network out here would be Jane Smith's Blogger account, Jane Smith's WordPress account, Jane Smith's Twitter account, right? But they're all interlinked properly so that it looks like a real person. Because think about this, guys. Every one of you that are sitting on this webinar right now, you guys have Google Plus accounts and Facebook accounts and probably Twitter accounts and all of that, right? So, and they're generally, you've got links on all of your properties to all of your other properties. I mean, that's because you're real, right? So my point is if you've got these accounts out there that aren't linked to anything else, then it's easily detected, even by Google's algorithm, that it's a fake account. Not that they can't detect that what we're doing is fake too, but it's less likely, if that makes sense. Okay. And so when it comes to these networks, guys, what I do, like I said, and we'll talk about Sendwire here in just a moment, because I think that's important too, is even with Sendwire, what I do is I tell my VAs, like, because I don't know if you guys know this, there's a lot of properties in Sendwire that are useless. In my opinion, I don't even know why they're there. And I'm not talking bad about it, because I use the hell out of Syndwire, but there is I think a lot of properties in there that just have no value. Like Link-A-Go-Go is, I think, one of them that Newsvine, the accounts get terminated. Almost every one of them get terminated. So I just stopped building them. You know what I mean? And so I've got a list of properties that I use in Sendwire because they're the ones that stick. And I have my VAs build the networks in there. And then what I'll do is, when they set up a set of accounts, it's under one persona's name, right? So they'll do an entire set of the accounts that I use, and then they'll build that profile out, and they'll interlink all the properties. For example, like, let me let me open this up. Wait a minute. I'm clicking on the wrong link here. I got Sendwire open now. Can you guys see this? Jason? Did I lose you guys? It looks like I lost Jason. Am I still on? So a persona that is fully fleshed out. Well, I guess we lost Jason, guys, but shit. I'm on. Scott says, so a person that is fully fleshed out with all social and description bios pics is what we want to build. Yes, absolutely, Scott. And I think you're an IFTTT SEO Academy member, Scott, and that's absolutely what we teach, right? Yeah, Sandy, you're right. Sendwire does not post to Facebook anymore, but I never used it for that anyways. And the reason why is because if you create spam profiles in Facebook, it's going to cause problems because they're going to lock your accounts with the IPs. They're going to tell you to verify friends' photos and stuff like that, and it's just a real pain in the ass. I don't do this. John Wall. Hey, John. Wow, haven't seen you in forever, dude. So I never use fake profiles in Facebook. Instead, what I'll do is set up Facebook pages under my own account. Okay, and then I'll syndicate or post to Facebook pages, and you can automate that with IFTTT. We don't teach that in the IFTTT Academy, Sandy, because too many people, I knew it would cause too many problems with people going out and not following instructions and going out and creating fake Facebook profiles. And so because of that, I said no. Like I'm not even going to put it in the IFTTT training because I'll be answering the same question a million times over, and I don't want to do it. But to tell you guys the way that I do it is I set up Facebook pages under my own profile, and you can set up a page to look like a profile, right? You just put the persona's image in the square for the profile. I mean, I can show you some of mine, guys. I don't care because a lot of them, they're spam pages, right? So what do I care, right? Let me just show you, for example. So if you can see, I've got there's several branded accounts in here too for clients and stuff like that. But I've also got a lot of like here's an account I haven't used in forever. Okay, I have a client in the technology niche that I don't have anymore, and this is one of them. So this is based around a blog, right? Like Motech Radio was the name of one of the sites in the network that I had built for this particular client. Okay, let's see. Looks like Jason says he can't get audio back. Is he back on yet? No. Damn it, Jason, I hijacked your webinar, dude. I'm sorry. Yeah, Jason, I'll show that in just a moment. Jason asked about Syndwire accounts. Anyways, my point is here's a page, guys, that I created, right? It's a spam page, but it's under my own account. You guys saw that just a minute ago. I just clicked on my profile and I go to pages, and you can create, I don't know if there's a limit, but I've got, 30 some pages, I think. A lot of those, like I said, are just spam pages, right? And so I'll post to those using IFTTT recipes. All right. And that way I log in through my main account. I just authorize the page, whatever the specific page is that I want to post to. And that way there's no issues with IPs and getting locked out of Facebook. If that makes sense. All right. So like I said, guys, it's much more effective to have accounts, especially the ones that are closer to your money site, right? And what I mean by money site, it could be a YouTube channel, or it could be a business, a website, your money website. But you want to have more real-looking links pointing to your money site than spam links. So that's why this graphic here, and then now we're going to get into some Sendwire stuff, guys. But that's why this graphic here, I show this, these red rings, and I'm pointing. This is where I build links to with Sendwire, because with Syndwire, because they create, I look at Syndwire as more of a spam tool, right? So I like to use Syndwire to boost my other properties or my IFTTT networks. In that, even though I still theme those, I still think it's more of a spam tool. And what I mean by I still theme them is I still create personas or profiles, and I interlink all the accounts. And I'll show you here in just a moment. I'll show you an example in just a moment. But what I like to do is use those to boost or build links to my IFTTT properties. And the reason why is because I'm not spinning content from that syndicate out across my IFTTT networks, right? I'm using my original content if it's from a blog. And guys, before you guys blow yourselves up, if you want to learn how to do this properly for a website, then, and this is not a pitch,
but IFTTT SEO Academy will teach you, like, there's some things that you got to be careful about if you're going to use this method for a website, because otherwise you can get yourself in trouble for leaving a massive footprint. So you got to blend in. That's what these dotted lines are showing, is where you blend in additional content from other content sources, high authority, high traffic sources. And that's explained inside IFTTT Academy. But my point is that with a YouTube channel, right? With the YouTube channel, you can syndicate out to your networks without having to hide your footprint. As long as you set up your recipes properly, there is no issue with the footprint, because all you're doing is you're being a publisher for Google. If all you're doing is posting Google's properties, YouTube, around the web, Google doesn't care if it's a footprint, okay? And I'm telling you, they don't care. So that's why, like, for these networks, I like to build, it's so much easier with YouTube stuff, but building video syndication networks. And then what I'll do is I will boost those networks. I'll build supplemental links to those network properties using Sendwire and other tools. FCS Networker, GSA I use at tier 3+, which means I will build Syndwire links or FCS Networker links to my IFTTT properties, okay? And then I will build GSA links to those links, okay? And that's, like, you know, it's the traditional link pyramid, except GSA is a pure spam tool for sure, and it doesn't necessarily use high domain authority properties like Syndwire does, or like FCS Networker has the option to do, right? Web 2.0s are higher authority than just pure spam tools. So, excuse me. All right, so let me go see what other questions there are. And yes, Jason, I will show you some of the properties that I use. And we lost Jason, dude. Let me see if I can get him back. This is awful. This is his webinar. Let's see if he can get back. Anyways, sorry guys, technical difficulties. Didn't that always happen? Yeah, pages are easy, Sandy says. That's right, Sandy. Pages are so easy to create, and you can set them up. In fact, let's see if I can just find one that, like here's another one. This one is set up to look like a profile, right? Here's another one. This one is it's set up to look like a profile, and it's just but it's a page, and it's a page managed under my account. And, you know, it's just to get that extra link. You know what I mean? They're easy to set up that way, and that's how I suggest doing it. So let me see what else I can find. Yes, Jason. In fact, let me pause the screen for a minute, and I'll just grab my Sendwire account template. It's a Google Doc, and I'll paste that link right here. You guys can all use it, and those are the accounts that I use. So let me just stop sharing for a minute, and I'll grab that for you. Just give me one moment. And I'll show you inside Sendwire too, which ones that I use, because there's several of them. I think they put them in there just so that they could say there was more properties to syndicate to, because some of them are absolutely useless, and it just pisses me off that they're even in there. But I'll show you which ones they are in just a minute. Okay, here we go. I think Jason's back.
I'm here.
Colleen's in. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm seeing your minicam logo.
Yeah, I know, and I can't figure out how to get it off of there. I'm working on that.
Turn minicam on. You have to go click the application on, because I use minicam too.
Where the heck is the application? You know what? I haven't used it yet, so that's my problem. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, then inside of the Google Hangout window, hover, yep. And on the top, in the very top center, you'll see like a little menu pop up.
Yep.
And if you click on the settings icon, then you can select your camera. And right now it's selected minicam, but you can select your default camera. There's Jason. He's back.
Bradley, you broke Google, brother.
Dude, I hijacked his webinar.
Right.
I feel bad, man. I'm getting ready to share the Sendwire account worksheet with you guys. Let me see. Let me just make sure everybody can get a copy of it.
Okay, now you've got me.
Yep, we see you.
All right, let me make this public, and you guys can have it. All right, somebody's got a terrible echo.
That could be me. Let me mute my mic.
I've muted mine just now. I think it might have been me.
Okay, no worries. All right, guys, here it is. Here it is. Took so long. Here, I'm going to put this on the best page. Let's see, Jason, I think it is you because I'm seeing your green line coming up. So, do you have headphones, Jason? If you put headphones in, that'll stop the echo. All right, guys, I'm going to stick this on the events page. Sorry, that took me forever. I just got distracted. It's going to be the Google Doc, and you guys are more than welcome to use that. Yeah, Michael Henderson is asking for the link to the SEO Academy. That would be your cue, Jason, to send him your link. Post it in the community or the page.
Let me grab that. Now, the first link will be to the SEO Academy, and then after that, it will be to the master class.
Yeah, which if you purchase the Academy, you're gonna see the master class upsell anyways. It's not, you know, it's an add-on if you want it, which is just weekly SEO coaching calls. Which, by the way, that's a perfect opportunity for me to pitch Hump Day Hangouts, if you don't mind, Jason, and that's free. So, guys, I'm not trying to squeeze any money out of you.
Please, yeah.
We have weekly, guys, on Wednesdays. I do a SEO Q&A. It's 100% free. It's called Hump Day Hangouts. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern every week, and it used to be 30 minutes, but it's going an hour now every week because there's a lot of people attending, a lot of people asking questions. But you're more than welcome to attend and join us every Wednesday. Bring your SEO questions. In fact, I'm going to post the link into the on the events page now. It's just, you can always find it, by the way, at semanticmastery.com/hump day, okay, because that's an evergreen link. It'll always take you to the most current episode of Hump Day Hangouts, or either the upcoming one or the replay from the last week, depending on whether I've got the new one set up yet or not, if that makes sense. So I'm sticking this on the page, guys. Please join us, man. Again, I enjoy this stuff. I really do. So I'd love to have you guys come and ask questions there. That's 100% free. The masterclass that he was just talking about, that's an upgrade for the IFTTT SEO Academy for a lot of people that are asking for additional, you know, the network, the IFTTT SEO networks is just how to build the networks, okay? It doesn't talk about on-page SEO. It doesn't talk about how to locate clients and land clients and close clients and prospecting, and it doesn't, you know, none of that stuff. But so that's why we developed the masterclass too. So that said, let me take the screen and answer Jason's question. Jason, the other Jason, not you, Jason.
Okay.
Sorry, man. There's like so much going on. All right. So Jason asked about which accounts. You guys see there's a bunch of you on here. So this is what I do, guys. I send it to my VAs, and they create a Gmail account and then one backup email. Okay, whether it's at Yahoo or Outlook, it doesn't matter. They just create a backup email account, and that's so that once my VAs, they use U.S. proxies because my VAs are in the Philippines. Once they're created, the accounts are created. If I have to log back into the accounts, then a lot of the times, because I will be logging in from a different IP, it will lock the account. Okay, so that's why we have a backup email, an alternative email that we've connected to the Google account. Okay, so you add it as a backup account or whatever. Then what happens is once we log into the account and we actually get a couple posts across it, again, I call that priming the network. Then it gives it's basically seasoned the network or seasoned that account so that it doesn't lock up as easily. And I've got accounts, guys, from networks that I built from 3 years ago that are still active. No kidding. So, you know, occasionally you're going to get some of them terminated. But that's one of the problems I see with a lot of the spam tools is that those links are not generally that long term. In other words, you create a bunch of links with them and then the accounts get terminated because they're pure spam accounts. But when you set them up properly, there's a lot less likelihood of them getting terminated. A lot doesn't mean that you're not going to lose some accounts. You absolutely will. That's the nature of the game. But it's a lot less likely. Does that make sense? So,
you know, I've talked to a lot of people online, and people are, you know, they're like, you know, well, it's so cheap, so easy to create new accounts. Why don't you do that? Well, okay, cheap and easy, that's fine. That's not the business we're trying to build. We're not trying to build a low-quality, fly-by-night type business. We want to invest a little bit of time into what we do, and I personally don't want to spend time crafting messages and networks and things like that just to find, you know, that something got killed because It was cheap and easy.
And here's the thing about that. That's very, very good, eloquently said, Jason, because here's the thing, guys. Why would you want to go out and create more, like do rework, number one, right? I hate rework. So why would you want to go repeat something that you've already built? And also, again, when it comes down to this, what is a more powerful link? A link from an orphaned account that's going to get terminated in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and you have to go out and build a new link, or a link from a network that is themed, which means it's built around a particular niche or industry, even if it's a general industry. Okay, so now you've got a link coming from an industry, from related content, from a themed network that has a strong profile or persona, that is an aged network, and that link is going to stick. So which is a more valuable link? 10 spam links or one aged link from a related relevant network? Which is a better link? You guys all know the answer to that. So my point is these networks become assets, right? They become assets. So let's go back to the other graphic for a minute. Let's go back to this for a minute. So, like, for example, I do a ton of stuff with the contractor industry, guys, like plumbers and electricians and tree services and HVAC and all that kind of stuff, and pest control. And so what I'll do is I'll build a branded network, or if I'm, building, like I said, I always do a branded network. But then out here at Tier 2, these networks out here, they're going to be just home improvement related networks, right? So that way I can essentially, if I wanted to, I could use these networks for, like, let's say this was for a pest control company right here. But essentially, if I wanted to, I could use these accounts for a roofer or a plumber or whatever, because it's home improvement related. They're general enough, but it's in the same industry, right? So, like I said, these become assets that you can use, especially the more, and when you start to build links to these networks, right? So you're boosting the authority of these networks, the power. Let's put it this way, guys. Let's go take a look at this. We're going to kind of walk through this, but let's go to WordPress.com. Okay, and I'm going to turn on Oz, right? You see that, guys? Domain authority of 100, WordPress. You guys know that. All right, but when you create a brand new domain, subdomain on WordPress for your networks, right, for your syndication networks, or for Sendwire, whatever it is, okay, you have a domain authority of 100. That's where the authority comes from, right? But what's your page authority? It's 1. Your page authority is 1 because it's a brand new account. All right, but when you start to build links to those networks and you age them and you post content to them regularly, it's called frequency of publishing, and it's all related content, the page authority starts to come up. And page authority is very much like what PageRank used to be, right? It's very similar. It's different, but it's similar enough that we can use that in this analogy and say that a link coming from a page with high page authority is more valuable than a link coming from a page with little page authority, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And now the other part of that we want to talk about, and let's just go open this up. 1 second. I'm not used to my screen being this large, so I want to go to Majestic. Turn this off. All right, so if we go to Majestic, and let's just use WordPress here. Guys, the most important metric in SEO right now, in my opinion, is trust flow. And it's a metric of Majestic SEO right here. This measurement right here is the most important metric in SEO, in my opinion. Okay, domain authority is important too, but domain authority, all things being equal, if you have 2 sites side by side and one site has a higher trust flow than the other, if they have the same domain authority, the higher trust flow site is more likely to rank. If all other things are equal, which is next to impossible, right? On-page factors, same inbound link profile, all that. So trust flow is incredibly important. Well, how do you have a site that you've created on one of these accounts out here, right? That is an orphaned account that has no persona, no link to other properties. There's no consistent theme. There's no real identity behind the property. It has a very, very low trust flow, right? Like 0. But as you age your networks, and you put related content on them, and there's activity, and it's collecting inbound links, provided they're not complete spam links, your trust flow is going to go up. So will your page authority. We just discussed that. So those links are going to become so much more powerful, right? And so that you, like just what Jason said, you know, if you're trying to build a real business out of this, guys, start investing in building assets. And so you guys, the accounts that I use, you're seeing right here, these are the ones that I found are the most reliable out of all the accounts available in Sendwire. So if we go back to Sendwire and let's go look at accounts, I've got 1,183 accounts. Did you see that? And I don't even use this tool near as much as I probably should, because I have a tool manager that runs FCS Networker for me, so he does a lot of that stuff for me. But you can see, like LinkedIn's useless in my opinion. It's useless.
Yeah.
You know, Facebook, in my opinion, is useless. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just going to say LinkedIn is much more for a branded, not really for what we're talking about, what we're discussing today. But if you're really trying to build a channel out, just a single channel, LinkedIn is very powerful. I really enjoy spending time in LinkedIn, but for the purpose of what we're discussing today, I agree with you. I don't think it's that valuable.
Yeah, for SEO purposes, it's not.
No.
It's not that valuable. For generating traffic for a real account, then that's right. Different. Right.
Yeah.
But you know, there's several of them in here, like Kipt. I've tried using Kipt before, so we just deleted the accounts; they were useless. DeviantArt, I couldn't figure out even how to get a link back from it. There's a couple of them in here that was like Linkagogo, Newsvine. The accounts will get terminated if you I mean, I can't tell you how many accounts I've had terminated in Newsvine. Linkagogo, I think that's paid now, and so is Folkt. Is Folkt even still in here? I'm not seeing. Oh, yeah, Folkt right here.
Yeah.
Folkt, it's like free for like 2 weeks, and then they make you pay. So I don't know if you guys know that, but if you have Folkt accounts, go back in if any of them are old and see, because like every time I've tried to bookmark something, they'll say, "Oh, your free trial has ended. You must pay." So I stopped building Folkt accounts, right? But it doesn't matter. I mean, this is enough. You know, these properties are enough, but you know, for what we're doing. And then so the reason why, guys, that you're seeing Google Plus on here, right? That it's not something that you can syndicate to in Sendwire. There's no Google Plus in here. But the reason why we do that is because you want to put that's an area that you can tie all of your accounts together, right? Just like WordPress, but you can also have Gravatar, Gravatar.com. Like, for example, Gravatar is not something that you can syndicate content to in IFTTT, but Gravatar has a place that you can. And here, I'll just give you guys an example real quick. Matter of fact, let's just go take a look at my Google Plus profile, and you'll see what I mean. And this is important, guys, because also I'm going to tell you how you can build links to these profile pages. So like here we are on my page, right? We scroll down. You see how all these other profile links are all tied in together? All of these, like FriendFeed. Like FriendFeed, for example, that's not a site that you can. I think it is in Sendwire, right? FriendFeed, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
And also we use FriendFeed as it's called a live stream site in the IFTTT training. And so that, you know, we tie the accounts together there. Gravatar, look at this. If we open up Gravatar, this is not something you can syndicate content to, but what can you do? You can tie all of your accounts together here. You see these? All these are links to my other properties, right? So this gives us another place that we can build links to.
Yeah.
Right? And all that's really important. So what do I use Sendwire for, guys? Well, when we set up campaigns, what I'll do is I'll set up the profile. This will be like one particular profile for, like, let's say construction. I've got a lot of general accounts in here because what I use this mainly for now is to boost YouTube videos. Like if I've syndicated, one of the drawbacks about using these networks, these IFTTT networks, is once you've pushed a video out across your network, that's it. You're not going to get any more links built to it from that network. Once it's syndicated, unless you re-syndicated it again, but I don't typically do that. So what I'll do is I'll build my network structures, and I'll use as many two-tiered networks as I need. Like I'll stack networks. Like I've got networks where I'll have 8 two-tier networks. So essentially it'll be 32 rings. So when I syndicate a video out, it goes out across all those properties, which is a lot, you know. I think but if there's a video, like for example, if it ranks well, or even if it doesn't get quite to where I need it to, then I'll use Sendwire to boost it, right? And other.
Hey, let me stop you right there real quick, guys. I want to know: do you understand what he's saying? Do you understand how much it makes sense to post a link, a comment, a bookmark to one place, and for it to automatically appear in 32 different places?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Colleen says it makes sense. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and here, I think Google's got an online calculator, but let's just do this.
That's fine, Bo. You're gonna get it, Bo.
Calculator. So for example, guys, if you got, let's just say an IFTTT network with the live stream site. So one ring, okay, just one ring is 22 properties. That's on average what we use. Okay, 22 properties, and you've got 4 rings in a 2-tier structure. That's 88 properties that your video, or it could be a blog post. You got to be careful though with that. And again, that's covered in the training. But if you're, let's just use videos for example. If you post a video to all you need to do is upload the video to your YouTube channel. Whether you upload it or you could live stream it via YouTube Live Events or Google Hangouts on Air, right? Either one of those 3 ways will publish a video to your channel, and in your channel will syndicate or push that content out across 22 properties per ring. So if you've got one full 2-tier structure, that's 88 properties. Well, when you start getting into some really competitive stuff, you're going to need more than that. But like, let's say for example, I've got one that's 8. It's 8 times 4, right? So it's going to be 8 times 4, which equals 32. And then there's 32 rings times 22. And that's 704 properties. Does that make sense? So one upload, my video gets uploaded from one location, right? One time, that's all I do. And then it's gonna propagate itself through the network and end up in 704 places. Does that make sense? You see the power behind that?
Bo says, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane, and it's done automatically. It's a lot of front-end work setting up the networks, which is why I suggested train a VA to do it. And in fact, tomorrow we're launching a done-for-you service where people can buy the networks built for you. That's so we'll talk about that on the next webinar because it's not available just yet, anyways. But yeah, it's a lot of front-end work, but the power is huge. But then we get back to this. Like, where do I use Sendwire? Well, in case the video hasn't ranked at that point, which usually it does, but in case it hasn't, then I'll use Sendwire to boost that video. Or I also, like I said, I use Syndwire to build links to these properties to do what we just talked about with building page authority and building trust flow, right?
Yep.
So, excuse me, when I come into Syndwire, I'll show you like campaigns, how I have stuff set up. When I first started this, guys, I was setting up the individual persona profiles, right? And I would come in and I would assign them a category and a number. Okay, like for example, this was the very first profile I put in here, construction 1. And so I was putting them in here individually, and then I would set up little mini groups so that when I pushed a blog post out, for example, it would go, I could say select this campaign and it would push across all 3 profiles blog accounts. Does that make sense? But then what I did is because we started putting so many in here, I ended up saying, look, we don't need to put the individual profiles in there, just create groups. And so for example, you'll see like this one here, general 25 to 30, and so that's if you do count that out, there's actually 6 profiles grouped together to make a campaign, and I've got several of them like that: 13 to 18, 19 to 24, 25 to 30. You know, each one of those are groups of 6. And so what I'll do now is if I want to go publish a blog post, and then I go grab the campaign, then I'll just grab from here. Like let's just say I grab. We'll do general 19 to 24. Now if I scroll down through here, you guys will see that it'll have 6 accounts from WordPress checked. And then we'll get down to Blogger and you'll see there'll be 6 check marks because it's a group of 6. So that when I make a post, I'm actually getting 6 bloggers, 6 WordPress links, 6 Tumblr links, 6 LiveJournal links all at the same time. Does that make sense? So that's how I group them together. And then remember, like I try to theme. Like I've got a lot of general stuff because, like I said, I've got a manager that builds links using FCS Network, or he does most of the stuff for me. Like he's full time on staff, right? So, but for stuff like when I've got a video or something that I need to boost a little bit, and instead of bothering him when he's running all my other stuff, like I'll just do a quick Sendwire blast. That makes sense. So, well, I hope, is there any questions coming in? Because I hope that wasn't like, I hope you guys got that. I was trying to make it as clear as possible.
Let's see. My embed videos? And Michael, the answer to that pretty much is it can, but it depends on what you're doing. I mean, it depends on the property, really and truly. Some properties you just can't embed videos on.
That's right.
It's just one of those things you've just got to kind of work out and figure out for yourself. If you can insert in any any property, if you can insert the YouTube code, yes, it can embed videos.
Yeah, guys, like for example, any one of those things that you just looked at on that diagram, it's going to give you a backlink and or an embed, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like what I do with the IFTTT properties is, for example, with YouTube, like a YouTube syndication to say, let's say Blogger, for example, I'll do the embed, and then I put a backlink also to the video. So it'll be the embed code, and then in the recipe inside of IFTTT, you set up the recipe. The recipe is the embed code, then it's a link to the YouTube video, so it's a clickable link, so it gives the embed plus a backlink, and then I link to the channel, the URL, the channel URL too. So I'm actually building links to the channel. By the way, let's take the screen again. I don't even know why I undid it. Let me show you YouTube real quick. Okay, if you go to your channels, let's go back to dashboard. Your channel is another area, guys. Even like, for example, you can't syndicate. There's no way to tie a channel into your accounts on Sendwire, right? I mean, there's not a place here for a YouTube channel, right? But think about this, guys. On your channel itself, and this can work for your personas that you set up. For example, over here, when you set up the Google Plus profile and you set up the Blogger account, why not set up a YouTube channel too? Even if you never plan on using that YouTube channel to upload videos to it because it's just a persona. But look what you can do with your channel. Okay, let's go take a look at View Channel. Go to the About tab. And you see this, guys? There's all these links up here. There's a description which you can get some keywords. You can theme it, right? Even if you're not going to use your channel to upload any videos. But look at all these. See all these? These are links to all your other profiles. And you can put, like, I think 10 or 12 links in there now. They upped it. It used to be less, but I think you can put, in fact, I could probably add a few more. I think you can put 12 links in here now. So this is just another place that you can reinforce a persona's identity. Does that make sense? So very, very powerful to do that, guys. Another account that is not mentioned, and I've been telling my students about it because it's not in the IFTTT training because there's no way to syndicate content to it either. But it's about.me. If you go to about.me, that's another great property that you can tie everything together.
And aboutus.org. I mean, I don't think that's not in Sendwire, but you can do that. That's a great one.
Yep. That's like a domain authority stack right there. They teach that in DAS, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Shh. Secrets we're not supposed to reveal, right?
Yeah. Well, they just gave it a fancy name. It's funny because I've been using IFTTT networks for 3 years now, long before I even knew who the hell they were, and they put this fancy name on it. It's catchy. I got to give it to them.
Yeah.
It caught on quick, and I was like, damn it, I've been doing that forever. So fancy name for it.
Yeah, I hate it when people steal my idea and make it better.
No, I'm sure they didn't steal it. They also decided.
No, yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
So.
Well, I tell you what, it looks like we're kind of coming close to the hour.
Okay.
One thing I do want to ask you about is, in the Sendwire Black group, we've seen a lot of people complaining about the loss of Facebook. Now, I think you just spent about 10 minutes answering that question. But what would you say about the loss of Facebook from Sendwire? I think you said Facebook, it's not really that valuable.
Well, it is valuable because I mean it is a valuable link. There's no question it's a valuable link. But I don't waste a lot of time setting up Facebook accounts for stuff because I showed everybody when you got booted off for whatever reason, Jason. I showed everybody.
I was alone. I thought that was everybody. I'm sorry.
No, I think it was just you.
Oh, wow.
And he left. Like I don't spend a lot of time on that. If it's for a branded network, then yes, I'll set up a Facebook page for it, not a profile. And I mentioned that already, guys. Do not set up spam profiles on Facebook because it will wreak havoc for your own Facebook too. So and it's just a pain in the ass. They'll lock accounts and everything else. So don't do it. But if you want to use Facebook, then I suggest only creating a Facebook page under your main account for your branded networks only. When you get out to second tier, don't worry about it. Okay, don't worry about it. If it's a persona-based network, don't worry about it. Instead, you're better off spending your time just building another network. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't think it's that big of an issue. Plus, like you had said, Jason, I know we mentioned this in the thread that you're talking about when that was brought up, is that if you really want Facebook still, if that's a deal killer that it's not there, then just set up an IFTTT recipe for that. You know?
Bingo. Exactly, and yeah, when I said that it wasn't very valuable, what it costs you to set up a branded Facebook account, then build the pages out. That's kind of the trade-off I was talking about. The pages are fantastic. I love Facebook pages. I've got 70 or 80 of them myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't do it on your personal profile. I mean, don't try to build another brand. Don't SEO off your personal profile, I guess is it. Let me check a couple of these questions here real quick. Bo says, so if my YouTube channel is Joe Blogs Home Improvement, and then I upload a video and it syndicates to my tier 2s, then are these tier 2s called the same brand, or are they separate themed or branded persons?
Well, it's not it's a themed persona, maybe, not branded. Yeah, so let me grab the screen again, and I'll try to explain this using this image again, because I think it's easier to have the graphic. You guys seeing this?
I left my glasses at home.
Are you seeing the image, or is it?
Yeah, we see your tiered networks. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're syndicating content from here, the only branded network is going to be tier 1, right? That's it. Everything else is going to be persona based. Okay, and guys, keep in mind, if you're stacking networks, and I don't want to confuse anybody, okay, but you're looking at this is a two-dimensional drawing, right? And we're talking about one two-tier structure right here. Okay, tier 1 being the branded network. These are tier 2 sites, or two-tier networks, right? And that's, you can see T2A, T2B, T2C, right? So those are just persona-based networks. They're themed. They're not branded, but they're themed. What I mean by that is, let's say that this is Jane Smith. All of the properties in this network will be Jane Smith properties. And she'll have a common theme. Let's say, if we use the plumbing thing, let's just say that she has a home improvement blog, right? So essentially, like, that even might be what her profession is in the bio that she has, right? So remember, this is made up, but let's say it's Jane Smith, the home improvement blogger. That's her persona, okay? And so each one of these accounts will be themed after that, so that it will make sense when you've got plumbing videos or plumbing content, whatever, being syndicated to her network. Does that make sense? Now this is one network. If you want to start stacking additional second tier or two-tier networks, right? Which is fine. When you connect at tier 1 level, it would no longer be a branded network. You can only have one branded. You should only have one branded network, right? But then everything else would, what I call secondary tier 1 networks, and then each one of those secondary networks would have their own tier 2 networks as well. This is two-dimensional, so it's not, you know, you just got to visualize it. But I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. So I hope that cleared that up for you, Bill.
It looks like you got it, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let me see, Jason. I think there was a couple questions on the events page itself.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. I'm looking at that now. Michael says, what is the... Oh, let me see. Huey. Huey is in my group. He says, does Sendwire not has a big footprint like posted by Sendwire? Is that not detectable by Google algorithms? Does it have that? Does it say posted by Sendwire in the post?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate that, but you know.
Holy ass! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that gives me more reason to say that you guys should be using those as supplemental links. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's pretty spammy. I asked Joe about that. I mean, not Joe. Joe. We really didn't go down that trail very far. But yeah, it's.
I didn't even know it did that, guys. I mean, like I said, I do not recommend using it to link directly to your money site, and I don't. Okay, I'm just telling you, I don't do it for that. I link for YouTube videos, fine. And if you want to link to your network properties, like a second tier or third tier links, that's fine. But now that I know that it leaves, that is, Huey, you're absolutely right. That is a huge footprint, and I was unaware of that. So.
Well, you know, Hootsuite brands theirs, posted by Owly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. And IFTTT, guys, if you use IFTTT, you got to go into the settings, the preferences. It's the drop down in the top right corner. Go to preferences, and you have to turn off IFTTT link shortener because they have like an IF.TT link shortener, and same thing, you'll leave a footprint. So you got to turn that off. That's in the training as well. Michael says, what is the best tool like Sendwire available? Where does Sendwire rank in these type of tools? Okay, I got this question a lot. Syndwire is a good tool because it's got the high domain authority sites, that at least the ones that I use only, right? Those are pretty good. They're high domain authority sites. They're social type sites, right? So those are decent links. Personally, if I had to choose one tool or another, I would go with FCS Networker. Like if all I could buy was one tool for this kind of stuff, I would go with FCS Networker only because it's so much more versatile and it can do so much more, and it's only $100 more than what we paid for Sendwire to get a lifetime license. Are you guys familiar with that? I mean, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Sendwire. I think FCS Networker has a bigger learning curve, and so personally, I've never run FCS Networker a day in my life. I've got a tool manager that does that for me. And part of the reason I hired a tool manager to do that for me is because I don't have the time to learn how to use those tools. Sendwire is easy to learn how to use. FCS Networker has a much bigger learning curve, but it is a much more powerful tool as well. Does that make sense? Okay.
I don't have FCS. I jumped on Sendwire, and to tell you the truth, just to be honest about it, Alex Becker contacted me about fixing one of his webinars. I fixed a few webinars for a few guys, and he wanted me to fix it. So I'm just kind of sitting there listening to it, learning, a little about Sendwire as I'm, fixing that webinar, and it just it kind of caught my attention. I wanted to learn, when I started learning SEO, I wanted to learn just the basics, the raw, how do you do it manually. I'm a very, very manual person, but I have come to appreciate and learn tools. And so Sendwire was not the first one, but it was one that sort of intrigued me. And then I learned about FCS Network about 2 months after I had Sendwire. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, again, Sendwire that's why I run Sendwire and I don't give it to my tool manager, because it's simple. I mean, it really is easy to run. It's a bitch to set up, and that's why I pay VAs to do it. But I use the Sendwire tool when I need to. It's there and it's easy to use. FCS Networker is a little bit more difficult to set up, but it's much more versatile. And I think for a yearly license, for a lifetime license, I think they've got one for $399. And so, like I said, if you only had the option of purchasing one or the other, and you needed something that was a little bit more powerful, I'd go with that. But again, Sendwire is a good tool. I'm not trying to say anything bad about that. So. All right, I think Sandy says aboutus.org. Yeah, you're right, Sandy. It was aboutus.org is another one. That's a good one. It's like a wiki site almost. Jason says, Bradley, can you just briefly explain the 32 times 8 equals 704? He says, LOL, you blew my mind so quick I couldn't catch up. Yeah, what I was saying was if a single ring is 22 properties, right, that you can syndicate your content to, and a 2-tier network is 4 rings, then that's 88 properties from one upload. You publish content one time, and it goes to 88 locations. It's a backlink and or embed, right? So if you stack networks together, then to where you're literally putting networks on top of each other for the same content syndication. It's still being syndicated from the same point, then you're just going to multiply that out. So if you had, 88 times, let's just say you had 10 networks, then you'd literally be posting to 880 properties. All right, does that make sense? So there's nothing you can't rank for if you do it properly. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of stacking, putting them pieces together. It's like a puzzle, We're going to have to wrap it up here in a second, Jason. I know your time's valuable, so is mine, but I do want to answer a question. Huey asks, does every persona have a theme like plumbing? No, Huey, like I've mentioned many times, only the Tier 1 networks are that tightly themed for what I do. Everything on Tier 2 is a more general theme. It's just in the same ballpark, if that makes sense. I do that. Everything, all my PBNs, everything are themed. Like, I don't build a link to a car insurance business, agent, a car insurance agent. I don't build a link from a home improvement PBN site or network site, period, because it wouldn't make sense. That's in my opinion, that's spammy, and you're just devaluing your network.
Yeah. Quickly, I want to answer Michael's question here. Hangout Traffic Commando. Michael, I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I'll take a look at it and try to get back with you on that. Guys, go over to the Hump Day Hangouts. Bradley put a link in there earlier. It's semanticmastery.com/humpday. Be sure and join that. It's free, at no cost, and it's a lot of great information. Bradley, thank you for your time today. We're gonna get back together, guys. We're gonna do this again. We're gonna have a little bit more focused conversation the next time. And if you want to just start shooting us some questions, do that. Put it in the Sendwire Black group, or just I don't know. Do you want anything in the Hangouts, in the Hump Day Hangouts, Bradley?
Yeah, guys. Any questions you have about SEO, post them on the Hump Day Hangouts events page. Post them on the page, not in the chat over on the side, like because that way everybody can benefit even after the Hangout's over. Like right now, when we close this Hangout, guys, all those of you that have been chatting inside the actual Hangout screen itself, like that, we're going to lose those comments. So it's better to have them on the events page themselves. And I'll mention that at the beginning tomorrow. You know, tomorrow's Hump Day. So, but yeah, guys, please feel free to join. Post your questions early because lately they've been filling up very quick, and I can only answer so many questions in an hour. So, but you're welcome to attend.
Okay. Thanks, guys, for coming. Thanks, Bradley.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.